DETV Sports Update is powered by DART, Delaware's transit service. Moving forward.
And here we go. Welcome into DETV. It's time to talk a little sports here on a Monday evening in front of a semi-live studio audience here tonight on a Monday, so we appreciate it. And, of course, welcome all in. Nick Alessandrini alongside Jason McCall, who is back in studio tonight. Great to see you back in the first state. You know, he's all over the place, so great to have him in. And then, as always, Matt Maurer. So, guys, a lot to talk about NBA-wise. We got some NFL to get into, some NCAA basketball, and then, of course, Dennis's question of the week. So, A big show planned for us tonight, a big week ahead in a lot of aspects in the NFL. New number one in NCAA basketball. But as always, Jason, how we doing here on a Monday? I want to apologize for everybody at home. I was a few minutes late today, so I apologize for getting us up and running a little bit late here on a Monday. It's on me tonight, but Jason, how you feeling? Back in studio. Got you with the hotel background last Monday, so great to have you back. How you feeling?
Yeah, I feel good, man. Back in the saddle, Back in the mix like Ruffles, Beanie said, good to be back, That last weekend was really, really cool. This weekend was really cool, too. I got a chance to, go down Dover to a concert, see Genuine perform. That was cool, Good dude, Got chopped up and all that good stuff. So, good weekend, man. Can't complain, man.
And was it a good weekend for your Celtics, who will touch on a big win
for
them at MSG. We'll talk about them in a little while. Matt Maurer now, I believe, 3 weeks removed from the Super Bowl defeat for the San Francisco 49ers.
We still doing this?
We have moved over. I'm saying we moved on. We're moved on. We're on to basketball season. And, Matt, I know you've been, it's all basketball now.
Yeah.
Like a true Eagles fan, right, Matt?
Yeah.
Again, it wouldn't have mattered if it was anybody. If the Ravens had lost, I would have did the same thing. If the Eagles would have lost, I would have did the same thing to myself on the intro. But how we feeling here? NBA season, some
I'm feeling the
coming
hate.
up.
I'm feeling the hate. Hate is good. The hate is good. There's a lot of Eagles fans taking shots at my man Debo, but it is what it is, man. People hate him, man. No, but we love him out here in the Bay, man. So.
I know if they knew I had a Debo jersey, they might throw me out of the Philadelphia.
Oh, they definitely would.
They would, man.
They definitely would. They don't like him very much right now. So good. Everything's good. Looking forward to talking.
And we got a lot to get into. Again, happy for us to all be back in studio. Dennis, of course, behind the glass, making everything go. We'll get his question here in just a little bit, but we're going to start in the NBA, and let's start here just with after the All-Star break and talk a little bit about the Denver Nuggets and Nikola Jokic. As we all know, Sunday's a big day for the NBA, ESPN all day long with some big primetime matchups. And it started yesterday with the 76ers, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. A tough day for Philadelphia at home. But it wasn't a tough day for Jokic and the Denver Nuggets. And coming out of that All-Star break, the third straight triple-double for Jokic, who was the favorite for the NBA MVP coming out of the break. Denver still up in the mix in the Western Conference at about that fourth spot, but 7 straight win over Golden State, guys. And as Jason talked about earlier in the day, off the air, they've kind of owned the Warriors here as of late. And Nikola Jokic may be playing, of course, better than anybody in the league right now. So, guys, just initial thoughts here on Denver. They lose a lot of those guys last year. The bench was kind of the big issue. Now, this year, losing some of those guys, Bruce Brown, etc. Brown hasn't been as good. But they're at that fourth spot. Again, they're still in the mix for that NBA championship. And, of course, starting to get rolling right now. And Jokic with a few huge games, Jason, including that 15-15-15 game a little while ago where he shot 100% from the floor. Nobody's ever done that in NBA history. He's rolling. What do you expect from the Nuggets here going forward? And do they have a chance, you think, to climb up in those standings?
I think they have a chance to climb in the standings, but I don't see them really going above the number 2 seed, if any. I really think that Minnesota and OKC will continue to separate themselves from the rest of the pack down the stretch. And we're going to talk about Joker playing great ball. I'd rather also talk about add SGA and add Ant-Man to the mix.
Oh, we'll touch on them too.
Talk about those two guys. But Denver's who we thought they were. They had some injuries early on in the season, so they're really just running out in the shape. But I still don't trust their bench. This has been their Achilles heel for many years. They kind of skated past it last year. But Denver, you also have to worry about their bench. The starters can score. Starters can play, that's fine. But who's the 8th, 9th, 10th man in a rotation that would give you consistent minutes. That's what I always worry about with Denver. So 4 spot is cool. Don't want to drop to 6 or below. So they probably want to keep the 4 spot or go higher. But I don't think I'm going higher than number 2, honestly.
And again, Matt, some of those teams near the top of the standings this year, a few surprises, right? You look at 2 young teams in Minnesota and Oklahoma City who've been playing very well lately. We talked about Denver. They're playing red hot right now. Just your thoughts on the Denver Nuggets. They're a game and a half back of those 2 teams. We talked about experience. That's what Denver has, and coming down the stretch, you think that'll be what is the difference between them, Minnesota and Oklahoma City? And if you are those teams and you look ahead to maybe a first-round playoff matchup here or a second-round playoff matchup, if you're Minnesota and Oklahoma City, that's one of those teams you don't want to see in Denver, right, round 4?
Oh, no, I don't want to see Denver at all.
I think that's the one team you would imagine. Probably the most scary team in the West. I'll change the question for you there. Is they the scariest team in the West?
Only if Murray gets
with you.
healthy and is killing it. If Murray's healthy and killing it, I mean, that's a guy that can get 28 and 10 every game. I mean, he's a problem. I mean, he's so strong, creates so much separation on his shot. But I got hate for Denver because what they did to my man Bones.
Of course.
But, you know.
Of course.
Yeah, again, just while we're on the topic here, you can't get many struggling a little bit to get to see the floor. And Clippers was sent home from the Clippers before the All-Star break.
Yeah.
So, again, Bones, friend of the program here on DETV. Hopefully he gets somewhere or can get some playing time soon. Maybe.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, look, we always cheer for the guys in Delaware no matter where they are. I mean, if it's Duran or, Dante DiVincenzo, we always trying to give love for our Delaware guys. But, yeah, look, I think the difference between Denver last year and the year before is what Jason said. The bench isn't that great. I think they're still learning who to trust, who to bring in. Christian Braun hasn't jumped up like they thought he was from last year. So, look, they're still trying to figure out what they're doing with their bench. But, look, their core 5 is still intact. And when you have those guys, you definitely can make a run. So, I still think that they're a team to reckon with.
And Jamal Murray, I guess dealing with what they're saying is shin splints and some inflammation of, I guess they said, the tibia. So not good if you want to hear anything like that. But I think that, for me, the Nuggets, it all comes down to, obviously, if Jokic is healthy, but he's been available, it's Jamal Murray's availability. And if he's healthy, I'm with you there. I think Denver's going to be tough.
He's NBA player soft. He needs some milk.
Oh.
He needs some milk.
Hey, when he is healthy, again, playoff Murray is one of the best. We saw it do it in the bubbles. Bubble Murray, then you finally got a chance to see him do it out of the bubble during that run last year. And, of course, didn't make the All-Star team. I think a little disrespectful to Jamal Murray this year.
Not really.
Never been an All-Star. So you don't think he should have been an All-Star?
No, not this year.
I think Jamal Murray should have been an All-Star.
Not this year.
But again, we're talking about Denver. They're sitting at that 4th spot right now. You mentioned the bench and the health. I mean, we can all make the assumption that come playoff time, those 5 guys or those 5 starters are going to get tons of minutes in the playoffs for Denver. So we'll see how they do coming out the rest of the way. You mentioned the 2 teams they're going to try to catch. It seems like the Western Conference standings with just one game can flip really on its head.
Yeah.
We saw Dallas over the weekend start in the 8th spot, go to the 5th, and then back to the 8th before the weekend was over. We saw Phoenix at 9. They jump all the way up to 6 as you see the standings here, just with that win over the Lakers yesterday. So everybody is just jumbled up there in the Western Conference. The Clippers were at the top of the standings just a few weeks ago, but as you see, Minnesota and Oklahoma City, those are the 2 teams I want to talk about here for a second. Both of those guys locked up at that top spot here, of course, at 40 and 17. 2 of the young teams, 2 of the young surprises that we talked about a little bit earlier. Who do you guys are all in on more, Minnesota or Oklahoma City? Matt, I'll start with you here. Thunder, a huge win over the Clippers, and as Jason said, SGA has been the guy that's, great last year, even better this year. 30 points, most 30-point games in the NBA, and he only attempts 3 threes a game. One of the most efficient 3-level scorers we have in the league, right in the NBA MVP conversation. And then Minnesota, Anthony Edwards, obviously not him, Karl Anthony Towns, Gobert, using that size after the disappointment they were in the regular season last year after giving up all they gave up to get Rudy Gobert. We're seeing them now with that top spot in the West, at least now through 57 games. Which one of those teams do you think could be more scary come playoff time?
I think it's Minnesota. I think they just have more elite weapons, top to bottom. But I'll say this. I also am a big buyer in Ant-Man. I just think he's just starting to just scratch the surface of his talent, which is scary for the rest of the league. I think if Karl Anthony Towns continues to play like he has heart, he can drop some points. And then, of course, Rudy Gobert being able to play center and leaving Karl Anthony Towns to play power forward, that's huge for them. I still think OKC, look, hats off to Sam Presti, the GM there. He's done some great moves. I think they have like 26 first-round picks over the next 3 years. So,
it's insane. And they're going to be looking to move some of those, as we talked about,
Yeah.
right? Because they cannot have that many guys on the roster. So they have the kind of arsenal to make a big move with that young team as well.
Yeah, and I also think a lot of people aren't giving, the love to their rookie at OKC.
Holmgren.
Yeah, Chet Holmgren. He's been great. Everything I think
year
and
long.
more that people thought. And look, he's not going to get. I don't think he's going to get the Rookie of the Year just because I think they're bent on Wembanyama getting it. But look, Chet's certainly playing well, and I think he's the key if the Thunder want to advance to the next level. As much as people like Jalen Williams, I'm not a huge Jalen Williams guy. I think he's very good. I just don't know if he's as good as what they count on him for. So that's my issue with OKC. I think they can only go as far as Chet Holmgren takes them because Shy is going to be Shy. I think you can lock him in, but I think the rest of those guys are the kind of little suspect compared to everybody else in Minnesota.
And again, Minnesota, a young team as well, Jason, but the Thunder just a tad younger, I guess you could say, a little more experience with Minnesota, who, again, I think a few playoff wins, no playoff series wins, but a few playoff wins for them in Minnesota. Chet Holmgren, the first rookie ever with 100 3-pointers and 100 blocks. He did that over the weekend. And as Matt said, probably not going to catch Wemby in that Rookie of the Year race, and whether that's fair or not, that's an argument for another day. But what about you, Jason? Minnesota or Oklahoma City? What team do you think can make a big race in the playoffs?
I am a big believer, again, as Matt alluded to, in the Timberwolves and in what Anthony Edwards can do. The playoffs are about stars, and Anthony Edwards is that next star that's on the rise. I would say he actually has arrived, if you will. I can't say next anymore. He's here now. But I think that it's going to take a signature win in the playoff series to really stamp him as one of the next faces of the league. But he has the skill set to do it. He's box office. He's a main attraction. And then when you couple him with the experience of a Conley at point guard, who's been through the ropes of the playoffs year in, year out with two different teams. Then you have Karl Anthony Towns, who's trying to play like his draft status again. It's been a few down years for him, mentally and physically on the court, but now he's playing like his draft status again. Then you have the Stifle Tower in Rudy Gobert, just doing what he does: block shots, rebound, run the floor. Then you have you can bring a guy like Naz Reid off the bench to spell him, or he can play some bigger lineups with those guys on the court. You have Jalen McDaniels. I mean, they have a very, very complete roster in Minnesota. But again, like Matt said, yes, OKC has a great roster. I think they'll stay where they are. But again, the playoffs, you have to play half-court offense. And I think in a half-court set, having to decide whether I'm going to double Ant-Man or double Cat, somebody else is open. And it's not going to spell a lot of good things for other teams, because that's the bit to worry about. Because you can put Ant-Man and triangle on one top of the key, or right side of the high post, and run the offense through him. Or you can bring Cat up and run high-low screens all day. Or they can do pick and pop, or even pick and roll with Conley and Cat. So they have so many different ways they can come at you offensively. And shout out to Chris Finch, who's actually been an excellent coach out there in Minnesota. Like I said a few weeks ago on the show, 20 years ago was the 04 T-Wolves got to the conference finals and lost to the Lakers. I see them 20 years later. This team reminds me of the 04 team that had Cassell and Latrell and KG. This team reminds me of that team 20 years ago.
And again, I know just for you guys, obviously, Gobert, when they made the trade for Gobert, I think it was 5 first-round picks, some pick swaps, and some other stuff like that for him. And we saw the struggles with Gobert in the playoffs. And even when he was with Utah and then Minnesota last year, can sometimes be a liability out there. They bring him up in the pick and roll, et cetera. Do you guys see that being an issue for Minnesota again this year? I mean, obviously not in the regular season. They're 40-17, number one in the West, but that seems to be something that affects him every year. But, as of right now, Minnesota looking good. Nobody's really brought up that aspect of it. You think he'll be good to go come playoff time? Can they play with both those guys on the floor?
They'll be good to go because, again, like I said, when you re-sign Naz Reid to that contract,
he has been playing very
you
well.
can spell Gobert in those moments where you think he's going to wilt or crumble. It's a great thing about them having two quality centers. I think some of those, against certain matchups, you don't need Gobert in lineup. You can kind of play a small ball offense. I hate to say it, but you can play a smaller ball offense with Naz Reid. He can shoot the three. He can still rebound and defend as well. So I think the matchups that don't benefit Gobert, you just plug and play Naz Reid, or you play Naz Reid down the stretch from the fourth quarter instead of playing Gobert. So I don't think you lose that much. If anything, you actually gain scoring when you're putting them out on the floor. But like I said, I just think that the matchups present well for them against anybody. I don't care who they're playing in the West. They match well against anybody. But speaking about playoffs, I want to go to a different team. I think Phoenix wants to avoid Dallas. Because Dallas has their number in the playoffs. I think Phoenix wants to avoid wherever Dallas is. Phoenix wants to be far away from them.
And that's kind of a battle now that you could project. Maybe one of those teams is in the play-in potentially. Phoenix had that 6 spot. Dallas had that 8 spot right now. Dallas now has the tiebreaker over Phoenix here in the regular season with that win. I think it was a little while ago here, a few days ago in that victory. For Dallas has won 7 of 8. They do drop the big one yesterday, though, their first loss in 8 games. And, of course, they fall to that 8 spot. But Phoenix, what do you think about Phoenix? Bradley Beal injured again, has missed a lot of time. Just quickly, Jason, while we're on it, or what about Phoenix? Do you like?
I mean, we look at the Western Conference standings, 5 through 8 separated by 1 game in the loss column. So, I mean, that tells you a lot about the competition level in
and
that
those
conference.
teams are all 7-3 in their last 10. Those are the teams that are starting to get hot. As well.
How I feel about Phoenix would be, which Durant are we going to get in the playoffs? Are we going to get the Durant of old, or are we going to get old Durant? I think it boils down to, can he put a team on his back again? That's really what, you can add Bradley Beal, you can talk about Devin Booker and Bol getting some good time now off the bench, but
25 the other day.
It really boils down to which Durant are you going to get come playoff time, and will he be healthy enough to carry the load? Because we've seen him get hurt in playoffs a few times the last couple of years and miss a lot of regular season games. So it all boils down to the health of KD and how much energy will he have left once the playoffs begin, and that will determine how far Phoenix will go.
Yeah, and who would have thought they made that trade last year, Matt? They get Brad Beal. They're able to add a few other guys in the offseason. They're sitting at that 6 spot, 34-24, 10 games above 500. But there they are, potentially almost in the play-in game, or at least still have the chance to be in that play-in game come playoff time. Is this what you foresaw for Phoenix? I know for me, obviously coming in, I had to pick them preseason. I changed it before the season started when we started our show because of Bradley Beal and Booker and all them missing that much time. How confident are you in their availability? I mean, we still can't see those 3 guys on the floor a lot together. When they do, they've been very impressive, even like we saw out of Luka and Kyrie when they're on the floor together. The Mavs have been fantastic. Right. That's just been an issue. Is that going to be something in the playoffs that you're worried about? Can you see those 3 guys being healthy for an entire playoff run, especially when Durant's playing so many minutes at the 5 now and trying to be that center and the tallest guy on the floor, et cetera? I know he's not taking a beating, for most centers which way he plays that position. But just thoughts on the availability of Phoenix.
I mean, I never liked how the team was set up to begin with. Mm-hmm. I don't like the team structure. I think one of the best moves they did was getting Royce O'Neal. I think he adds better defense for them. Leaving Brooklyn and coming over, he's going to be a really good rotational player. He's going to be able to spell guys a little bit better. They didn't really have that coming off the bench. Look, I hate to say this, but when they made the trade for Beal, I just kept saying to myself, I don't understand the dynamic, the team structure. Agreed. To me, you have 2 dominant scorers, and you have a guy who believes he's a dominant scorer in Beal. And don't get me wrong, I think Beal's a really good talent. We just never seen him in a situation where he's a dominant scorer on a really good team. It's a little different. I think John Wall shielded Beal from a lot of criticism when he was there.
Shout out to John Wall. Thanks for giving him credit. Give John Wall flowers, everybody.
That's a fact. Real much better in Washington than he gets credit for. And I think the reason why Beal has blossomed somewhat in Washington, because he shielded a lot of criticism. He was the number 1 pick. Beal was kind of the guy that they picked later on, 3rd. It's like, oh, yeah, this guy's kind of good. But, all the attention was on John Wall. And now he's in Phoenix. They made the moves. And, a backcourt with Devin Booker and Bradley Beal just doesn't make sense. I know people say, oh, Booker can pass. But that's not the question.
And he can. That's not the issue. He definitely can pass.
They don't have a real point guard in Phoenix, and that's going to be the problem. And come playoff time, they don't have a traditional point guard who looks to pass first, who can create offense. Yes, they can handle the ball well. They can get assists, but let's be honest. The NBA gives away assist and rebounds like it's nothing. I mean, they're not counted the same way they used to be. You can tap the person. Oh, got an assist. Oh, it's a rebound. Come on, really.
But no one needs a point guard in the NBA until you need a point guard.
Yeah.
it's no one needs a center in the NBA till you need a center.
Right.
So it's one of those positions where like everybody thinks, I can throw this guy in. He plays 2 guard. Yeah, we'll be fine. He can pass. Yeah, just because you can pass and get an assist, don't make you a point guard. So that's the whole thing I think Phoenix will struggle with. Look, they try to match up the defensive. They've got Okogie who's there. They got Dad Body Roddy who's down there.
Nurkic. Grayson gives him good minutes. Nurkic, I mean, he'll probably be almost unplayable come playoff time, I would imagine. We'll see.
Maybe. I mean, look, a lot of people don't know this, but Nurkic was actually the guy that people looked at to take over, and not Jokic.
Yep, Jokic was drafted to be his.
They were the 1 and 2 in Denver.
Yeah. So.
And Nurkic had some good numbers back.
Yeah. So look, I say all this to say this: I'm not sold on Phoenix, even if they get Bradley Beal. Unfortunately.
And again, I mean, just off topic, but kind of related to it, is in San Antonio, right? Popovich and Wemby not having a point guard for the first however many games in San Antonio. And then we see some Trey Jones, and numbers for everybody started to go up. And, of course, they're not in a similar situation. They're not looking at playoffs or anything like that. But, again, just the basketball aspect of it. Again, you need a point guard, so we'll see how that affects them. Maybe it would be good for them if they had Chris Paul back with that team. Huh? Maybe run the point guard.
No, because he's ball dominant, too.
Yeah, he's ball dominant.
He holds the ball for 18 seconds. You have to run a play with 6 seconds. No. If you watch Chris Paul teams, if it's 24 seconds in the shot clock, he's going to have the ball for at least 15 out of 24 seconds.
It's like James Harden?
Not as bad.
Not as bad.
But
that's true.
At least with Chris, people are running backdoor screens and they're cutting, but he still holds the ball too long.
And again, just to to your point, the big move for the T-Wolves was last year when they added Michael Conley. And since that addition, they've been fantastic with him in the lineup the last year and a half that he's been there in Minnesota, and we're seeing that obviously in the regular season this year.
Oh, big facts. I mean, look, Conley, he doesn't. I don't think he has enough credit.
Yeah.
That's somebody should have been an all-star before. I'm telling anybody.
Yeah.
It's Conley.
Conley has always been a really good pro. Always been a guy that has gone under the radar for most of his career. But yeah, I mean, to me, he's been the unsung hero. And again, Jason shouted out Naz Reid in Minnesota. I think that's one of the best undrafted rookies in like a couple years. I mean, he's really, really good, and I think he's going to have a serious future with that club when they decide to move off Gobert probably in the future. So I think they got some good pieces there in Minnesota.
Yeah, for me, if I had to choose between the two, a big Anthony Edwards fan, as I know you guys are as well, I'm going to lean Oklahoma City with Shea and a little bit of that experience and some of those guys. I like what they've got. I like the depth they have in Oklahoma City.
Lou Dort.
Lou Dort. I mean, they got some guys that can really defend on that team as well. Jay Will, great two-way player. I think they're going to be. I think they're a team. I think they could be a team. I like them a little bit better than Minnesota. But again, both teams coming down. Minnesota worries me a little bit in clutch time. They haven't been in a lot of close games, and when they do, they've kind of blown some of them. They have a lot of big wins over teams. I think come the playoffs, a lot of the games are going to be real close. They're going to be a lot tighter. I think Minnesota in clutch times, what I'm going to be looking for or paying attention to in the playoffs, and I lean Oklahoma City. I know they're just as young, and if not younger, just have a little bit more confidence in Shea and what he's been able to do this year, running this show for Oklahoma City in clutch time. So I lean Oklahoma City there. The Clippers are another team, guys, that we've talked about ad nauseum here. They're now picked third in the odds to win the NBA championship. Boston sitting at number 1 at plus 250. Denver now has creeped their way back up to number 2.
I understand why the Clippers are in third in the.
They've been playing well.
I
ain't buying. Ain't no way.
I mean, they've been playing good ball, man.
And the Bucks with Doc Rivers. Let's head now to the Eastern Conference, and let's start with the Celtics and, of course, the best record in the NBA, 45-12. They've won 8 straight. They beat the Knicks, who have been good, even though the Knicks, of course, now battling tons of injuries with a lot of their players. 116-102 for Boston. And, of course, they've gotten a 7.5 game lead on Cleveland, who's sitting at the number 2 spot. Milwaukee just a game back of Cleveland at 3. Anyway. And then New York Knicks followed by the Sixers at 4-5. So you talk about the Celtics having a 7.5 game on Cleveland, or a lead on Cleveland, I should say. If you look at the Western Conference, that's Minnesota all the way to Dallas, who's the 8 seed. They don't even have 7.5 games on the 8 seed in Dallas, and Boston has it on the 2 seed in the East. That just shows you how dominant they are in the Eastern Conference. So, Matt, I'll start with you in this one.
Yeah.
They've won 8 straight. They're obviously the favorites to win the NBA championship. Are they your favorites, one? And who's the biggest threat to them in the Eastern Conference and then overall in the NBA come finals time?
I mean, I think they're probably the odds-on favorite to come out of the East.
Like, if I offered you Celtics or the field, who would you take to win the title?
Celtics.
Wow.
But I'll say this. If Milwaukee can ever get a clue on what they're doing,
Doc scares me.
if
If Adrian Griffin was still there, I might be on board. I would.
They got the chance. And look, this might seem like a hot take. I don't care. Look, I'm sorry. Dame Lillard, you gotta make it work, bro. You don't make it work, everything people think about you is true, bro. You a mid-top 75 guy who didn't belong, bro. I'm just gonna keep it real. Because at this point, you've got Giannis. You have Giannis's world star brother, Theasis.
That's your big three.
Just gonna help yourself.
Look,
gonna help yourself.
And let me just say this to Dame Lillard real quick.
Dennis.
I gotta say this to Dame Lillard, man, because I saw Dame Lillard come out and say, "Oh, he could probably beat you guys."
Oh, that's
here.
right. Yeah.
Listen, bro.
He did
Ain't no one. Look. Joe Sixpack. Yeah, I'll take Theasis too, bro. Okay. We talking about his peers, bro. We talking about the people that get paid to play this ball. Ain't no one talking about Joe Sixpack. So kill that noise.
What about the blue coats?
And that's why I know you from Portland, because that was a corny statement to make, bro. Come on, man.
Wow.
Come on, bro.
Mostly in Portland, okay.
Yeah.
They ain't called all Portland.
Look. I'm just saying it was a corny statement to make. Come on, bro. We ain't talking about Joe Sixpack. We ain't talking about the guy that's sitting home on the couch. Of course he can beat him. We talking about his peers, bro. And I'm willing to bet there's some guys in the G League that would give that man some work. Okay? And Dame, if you're really serious, put your money where your mouth is, dog. I guarantee you won't have no open tournament against guys in the G League against your man, Theasis, bro. I guarantee you won't do it. Because you know, like I know, he's not that guy. Okay? So stop talking. I understand you want to back your man's brother, but, dog, it ain't like that, bro. Stop. Okay.
And again, Matt, just to
Tired
pile
of this,
on
man.
top of that, if
Tired
you're
of this.
Dame, and again, I know he did this interview. I'm not sure where this was recorded.
Gosh.
Why do you think he felt the need to reference this or even bring it up? Is it
Because he's
has
Dame.
it become?
You know why?
Is it that much of a topic that we have to reference?
No,
this?
you know why. He has to appear to have Giannis's back regardless.
Yeah.
100%. He has to be like a team guy.
Yeah, because he's corny and he's Dame. This is the cornball stuff that Dame does, man.
And then you have Giannis saying, "Oh well, yeah, this is Dame's team."
Yeah, that's
really,
right.
my guy. You a 2-time MVP. This his
Finals
team.
MVP,
Finals.
champion.
This his team.
I don't think anybody's buying that,
kick
right?
Rocks, brother.
Nobody's
Kick
buying
rocks. They're like Boo Boo the Fool.
And
Come
listen,
on, man.
let me just say this too. Giannis, shut up. Okay? It's just ball, bro. Okay? Because at this point, let's just keep it real, bro. This is your squad. I don't give a damn what you think about with Dame Lillard. I don't care, bro. You're Dwayne Wade. Okay? And Lillard is LeBron James. Well, no, Lillard's really Chris Bosh. But look, at this point, you got to make it work, bro. Okay?
Chris Bosh.
Just stop, man. Stop trying to be humble. That ain't what you there for, bro. You there to destroy, okay? Look, you already got half your family drafted by the NBA because they suckers for Adekumpo's last name. Listen, bro. You got to make this work. You just got to. At this point, you got to make it work. And the way it looks right now, it looks like a failed, bad experiment.
And you've gotten 3 coaches fired, Giannis. Your name's starting to creep up that list of uncoachable players. You've gotten three coaches fired.
And again, Budenholzer, an NBA champion, obviously coached for them when they won it in 2019. The Bucks, though, 2-0, Matt, since they return out of the All-Star break, and 2 nice wins for Doc Rivers in his return to Philadelphia. They get a win over the Sixers. Of course, no Embiid, so take
nice?
that for you for what it's
I
worth.
beat them.
I take it for what it's worth. But another win earlier last week, and I forget Timberwolves, Minnesota. Yeah. So the big win over Minnesota there. But 2-0 since the All-Star break. The offense looks a little bit better with Doc Rivers now. I mean, it was slow. It was great before he got there. Slow when he got there. Now looking a little bit better. Defense shaping up a little bit more. Yeah. Talk about the Eastern Conference as a whole. Is it just Boston and Milwaukee? Is that it? Is that all the only teams you got to worry about?
No.
Not at all.
Talking about New York Knicks? Did the Knicks have a chance?
You know what? I know Matt had a sigh, but a healthy Knicks squad, you have to be wary of them. However, I think that the Sixers will fall to the play-in.
And as a Celtics fan, how would you feel about a healthy Sixers team come playoff time? I mean, the Celtics in a first-round matchup.
Healthy Sixers squad can beat anybody.
Yeah, I'm with you.
There's no shame in that statement. Like a healthy if Embiid in a fully healthy roster, they can beat anybody in any conference.
I'm with you.
It's just the fact that health will always be the biggest question with Philly come playoff time.
Absolutely,
it doesn't
right.
matter if it's Embiid or if it's whomever. I mean, I still don't understand the homecoming tour for Kyle Lowry. I don't get them bringing him there. Like, it puts people in the seats, but that's about it. Like, what would be his real contribution to the team?
And this was a tough one for me. Big Kyle Lowry fan, obviously Villanova Wildcat. Had a chance to meet him a few times. Love Kyle Lowry. Is he? And I'll ask you both this question: is he that much of an upgrade over Patrick Beverly, who they shipped off to bring him in?
Pat Beverly was the heart and soul of that team, and you see since he's been gone what they've looked like defensively. He held everybody accountable. He's the only person that can call everybody out, and they listen to him.
So you think a Nick Nurse thing,
they don't have
old player coach thing with Toronto, and I think it was just him. Right?
Yeah, but those days are come and gone. Right?
Yeah, I agree. Again, it's a tough spot for me. Love Kyle Lowry, but again, what if you look at his stats or what he's been able to do with Miami the last few years? You kind of think, what can he bring? He has a little bit some leadership off the bench, and he did have a good game before he was knocked out in his first game as a 76er. But I guess we'll have to wait and see how it works out. I was a little surprised.
But not only did you lose Pat Bev, you also lost Marcus Morris Sr. So you lost toughness. And you can't replicate toughness. When it comes playoff time, you need some goons. And they lost 2 goons you're going to need come playoff time. And I don't think they have that in them come playoff time.
Well, let me then now to go back to our original question, though, with the Celtics, most dangerous team in the NBA, who do you think is the biggest challenge for the Celtics? And again, we'll start with a 2-part question. If I offered you the Celtics or the field, who are you taking? Matt took the Celtics in that scenario. Celtics or the field, and who's the biggest threat in the Eastern Conference and in the NBA? Are you even worried about the Eastern Conference? As a Celtics fan, I should say.
Celtics over the field.
2 Celtics over the field.
And the biggest threat to the Celtics are the Celtics. Everyone,
that's true too.
But the thing is, though,
we've seen that.
Everyone in the NBA knows this. Like, it's not a secret. It's a known fact. The Celtics are their own worst enemy.
But again, a lot changes this year, and we talked about it when it happened. The deal for Porzingis
has been huge.
I mean, Porzingis is the key, right?
Has been huge.
I mean, people are making the argument that if they lost, Tatum or obviously if you lose Tatum, he's the biggest loss, no doubt. But if you lose Porzingis, where are you, with Boston going forward?
If you lose Porzingis, you're probably out in the first round. Because he solidifies the back end, and you know that Tatum and Brown get turnover happy come playoff time. Trying to do too much.
Again, that matchup with Bam Adebayo has been killer for Boston, and now Porzingis, going to be the guy that can
But
change
I
that
think
matchup.
this year, when you have a Drew Holiday steering the ship, a lot of the stuff they're already playing too fast for their own good. I think Drew said, "Hey, let's slow this down.
Turn the ball
let's
over.
Let's run some sets, and then you can." So honestly, Drew Holiday is nothing more than Marcus Smart with a better offensive game, because the same type of defensive intensity, maybe not as rah-rah, but on the court, you're going to respect Drew. And then Drew has games where, let me go get the team 25 real quick, because he's not 25 tonight.
And again, now you talked about this being the first playoffs, I believe, without Marcus Smart now for Boston. Who's going to be that guy to be that rah-rah guy, right? The guy that's going to tie those guys together when you go through some adversity during a game. Are you worried about that aspect of it at all this year?
Derek White. Because he's proven to be that even the last couple of years. Like, Derek White has been that unsung hero in Boston the last couple of years, and now that he's been allowed to show his full game and actually play full-time minutes as a starter, Derek White is better than a lot of people actually know.
I agree.
And actually see. And
NBA
I think he's the new glue guy for Boston. I do. I think he's into that role.
So again, we got 2 Celtics over the field. I'm going to take the field. I have the Celtics coming out of the East in the preseason. I'm going to take the field for the finals. I think Denver is going to be good, just a chance. You give me the field versus anybody, I'm most likely going to take it. But I do think this is the closest that we've had between a number 1 seed or a top overall seed and the field going forward. I think it's real close. I'll lean the field, but Boston is damn good, and they look like they're going to continue to get better and better. But what will we see out of them in the playoffs? The Joe Mazzulla, some question marks. We'll see.
Yeah, that's the question mark as a coach.
But again, the stats, when you look at it in terms of an NBA or whatever, the deep stats, etc., one of the best teams on paper in NBA history, supposedly, in terms of efficiency and stuff like that. So we'll see if exactly. I know a lot of people don't care, but we'll see if they can do it. Again, the stats are saying they were a 65 to 70 win team. So we'll see if they can do that.
Stats are only numbers. You got to prove it on the court. You can be the best team in the league and lose in the first round. Seattle, 94.
Seattle, man.
Yeah. That's hurt me. That's my squad.
Miami, 99. They lost to the Knicks.
Yep.
I mean, even the Golden State when they lost to Dallas when they lost to Golden State.
And again, I know we do this.
Do we believe Warriors?
Each and every week, almost, or at least every couple of weeks. And then we have our preseason. And, of course, once we come playoffs, we'll make our official picks ahead of the playoffs, et cetera. But as it stands right now, who you guys leaning to, and who's your finals matchup here on Monday, February 26th?
I'm obviously going to take the Celtics out the East. In the West, I'll be honest, I'm torn between Minnesota and Clippers. I really am.
And who would have thought Jason would be up here talking about the Clippers with a chance to make the finals here a couple months ago? After the James Harden trade, I know we had a show after the first 5 games when they went 0-5 after that trade, and we really trashed the Clippers. They've really turned things around. Again, 3rd now in Vegas to win the NBA championship.
I ain't buying that.
So if I had to put you on the spot, who are you going with? Minnesota or Clippers? You're just going to leave it at that? Well, I mean, like you said, these aren't official, so Minnesota, Clippers, and Boston.
All right, so I'll do – they're not going to like it. The NBA won't like it for ratings, but let's do – Celtics, Wolves.
Celtics, Wolves in the final.
They're not going to like it.
Anthony Edwards in the finals would be a lot of fun to watch. Matt, what are you leaning in your finals matchup here?
I'll try to take Boston versus probably Denver.
Yeah, I'm leaning.
I think Denver will start to figure it out.
I like that, Dark. I like that.
I'm the same thing. I think it's Boston, Denver.
Yeah, the Clippers thing, I can't get into it, bro. I just can't. I'm sorry. I don't think James Harden plays winning basketball long term.
And again, we'll see in the playoffs,
can't
right?
buy it, man.
However,
we'll see how he shows up in the
I love their
playoffs.
new uniforms.
Yeah, we'll see if Dennis can
today.
put that up at some point. Again, we'll see that. But again, they complete rebrand for the Clippers. But I will tell you, I think again, Harden makes me nervous, and I'm with you guys there a little bit. But playoff Kawhi, if he's healthy, is unlike anything I've ever seen. If he is 100%, Kawhi is just the guy come playoff time. He's going to be my most important player to watch in the playoffs. Unless I think he's the most important player for any team. I think you can kind of expect what Jokic is going to be. If Kawhi goes nuclear like he usually does in the playoffs, but now with this cast around him, I'm with you. It's going to be hard for the Clippers to lose. But again, we'll see if they can overcome James. I mean, is it disrespectful for us to say overcome James Harden, Matt?
No, it's not.
No, but I will say this. I just want everybody to realize something because I've gone under the weather and I don't know why. But you guys do realize that Kawhi is on pace to play 60-plus games. And he hasn't done that since Toronto.
And let me ask you this now as a follow-up. Is that a good thing or a bad thing coming into the playoffs?
It's a scary thing. If you're the Clippers, they got to start. If they really want to save Kawhi, they're going to have to start.
And that's my question, right? And do you think that could have? I mean, we've seen him go down in playoff series before, and you talked about. Usually, he's the one that kind of manages what he's been through, right? I know the MVP and all these new stuff coming in to play these rules in the NBA this year. But if you said he obviously on pace to play those games, that's a decision that he's making, right? That he wants to be out there, he wants to play those minutes. And why do you think that is? And if so, is that, like I said, a good thing? Do you think that's okay for the Clippers?
I don't think it's okay for the Clippers long term. I just. Kawhi to me is a guy that I don't know if – and look, I think if we're talking about the 90s, I think Kawhi would have retired years ago. I'm glad he hasn't had to retire, but at this point, I mean, the injury he suffered to his leg is an injury that is going to stay with him for his whole career, that he's going to have to manage, that he's been managing. Yeah. And it flares up, and it's a chronic issue. And I'm just saying – if he continues to play, you have two outcomes. Either he's got this rarefied year where everything has come together, the stars have matched, and like he's healthy, which for the record, I hope that's what it is.
Steroids.
Or that's the dirty thing no one wants to talk about. Or that he's at that part where, look, it's going to break down eventually. It's one or the other. So.
And I'm looking forward to it because a healthy Kawhi in the playoffs, that makes the Clippers even more dangerous. I think that's the reason they're sitting at that 3 spot in Vegas odds as it stands right now. Anything to add on terms of – and let me ask you, who's more important, do you think, to their team with playoff success? Is it Jamal Murray in Denver or is it Kawhi Leonard with the Clippers?
Oh, it's definitely Kawhi. Yeah. Because a healthy Kawhi –
I mean, Denver scares me without Murray, too, though.
Yeah, but a healthy Kawhi –
You got Paul George. You might be able to win a playoff series, I think. With
Paul George won the playoff series, though.
Kawhi. Yeah, I'm with you.
And remember, Paul George is the pending free agent.
Philly, we see it could be a sixer next year.
No, I think going with them building the new arenas going to start next year, they're going to keep that core together, at least with a couple of years.
Talk about they're going to be the new tax rules and everything, and they're going to
Intuit Dome,
into the aprons.
That new arena in Inglewood that looks amazing.
Yeah. That's the thing. Balmer's got money; they don't care about any of that stuff. They'll continue to pay it, all of those taxes. But again, the West Conference. There you go. We have the new Clippers. Rebrand up on the screen.
Here's the thing.
It looks like the Sixer uniform.
No, I'm explaining to you. So
that's back to '88.
So Matt knows those are actually the San Diego Clippers logo with the current LA Clippers colors. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Growing up on some of the NBA games, I used to always just put myself on the Clippers.
So so that's the San Diego script.
I don't know why. I just wanted to be the other team in LA. I wanted to take the other team in LA to a championship.
Well, I mean, the Clippers back in the early 2000s, they were a highlight reel team with LO and Darius Miles and Quinn Richardson, the Bang Bang Gang. They were fun to watch TV. On TV, they had even when they had Baron Davis, Elton Brand. They had some good squads. But for us who watched the Clippers in the 80s and 90s, and you can talk about the teams with Pooh Richardson and Lloyd Vaught and players like that. I mean, so the Clippers always had Mark Jackson. Mark Jackson's career really took off with the Clippers. Ron Harper. I mean, we can keep going on and on. Just that the West was so strong back then, they couldn't make the playoffs. But Clippers have had players. Mo Taylor. I mean, go down the line.
Mo Taylor,
they've had decent players over their history, but just couldn't tie it together. That also, Elton Baylor was the worst GM in NBA history for like 25 years.
That's a fact.
But yet, overall, though, it looks like the Western Conference, though, is going to be a lot of fun, I think, this year. So, again, you got the Warriors at the 10 spot, Lakers at the 9. That could be a play-in matchup. So the NBA's got to love some of these potential matchups for some of those primetime action. The Pelicans have been fantastic. Dallas has been really good.
I don't trust them at all.
I don't trust Zion them. Healthy. They've been really
Zion
good.
Can be healthy, skinny. I don't trust
when he's running kind of that point forward now. They've been, like I said, 7-3 since he returned. And is controlling the ball. He's been controlling the ball offensively for New Orleans, and it's been working. We'll see if he can stay healthy.
Looking at these standings here, I tell you a team who for the teams 8 through 10 should be afraid of. If Utah gets hot and takes somebody's spot, it's going to be messy. Because I think right now, Utah, if they get on a win streak, I think they could supplant LA or the Warriors.
Yeah, I mean, potentially. I think the Warriors are starting to put some things. Like yesterday wasn't good, but I think Denver's just been really rolling. But that new lineup Golden State's got with Clay off the bench and Draymond
Golden State has
big.
blown 15 fourth-quarter leads this season. They've been up double digits. No. They can't close games.
And we'll see if they can work on that. Again, I kind of like what they're doing. I don't think they're going to get much beyond the play-in or anything like that. I think they're a play-in team. But a team that, of course, could give maybe one of those top seeds, at least a series early on coming up. But, again, Phoenix and Dallas, I really like those two teams, going forward that are in there as well. So we'll see how it goes. It's going to be a lot of fun in the West. But quickly, MVP race, as you guys see on the sheets here, down to four people, really. You see the stats there as well. Quickly, before we move on, who is your MVP as we go forward as of right now?
SGA.
Yeah, I would say SGA, but I know Joker's going to win it. But
yeah, we both know that. But
again, with some of the stats too, at least the records, they kind of play into it. I think it would be really cool to see Jay win, especially with the Thunder in the 2 spot. Imagine if they were to get that 1 spot in the West, then I think it'd be even closer.
But do the records play into it?
I guess it depends on who you ask.
Popularity contest in the records.
I mean, because to me, the problem I've had with the MVP has always been a problem with me is that it changes depending on the narrative of the guy.
True. I'm with you there too. Yeah.
So like with Jokic, when his first MVP, it was, oh my God, he averaged a triple-double. Then the second MVP was, oh, he put his team to the playoffs, even though they're a 6 seed, he's all by himself. He took them to the playoffs. So like with Nash, he was a 180 shooter. They didn't care. They didn't care if it was, Reggie Miller that did the 180 or Mark Price.
That was Kobe's MVP.
They didn't care.
Oh, my God.
So, what I'm saying is the problem I've always had with the NBA MVP is that it's always fluctuating depending on whatever the narrative is they want to spin.
Yeah.
So, that's my issue. And at the end of the day, I think they're going to give it to Jokic because I think whatever reason, I think a lot of these voters wanted to give it to him last year. They just knew they couldn't.
And if we're being honest, right? If we're really, really being honest, LeBron should be an MVP top 5, top 10 every year with the stats he's put up, and he's actually should be tied with Kareem at 6 by now. But the NBA would not give another MVP award because the years in Miami, he should have probably won every year there. And in the first,
about Kobe and his past as well. It's true.
Kobe had one MVP.
Yeah, it is. It's crazy to say out loud.
Like, think about that. Kobe was only a one-time MVP winner.
It's crazy. It is crazy.
LeBron, you got 4, baby.
LeBron got 4. He really should have 6.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the problem, though. It's the same thing with the Jordan thing.
Like Mahomes, too, right? Could Mahomes win the MVP of the year?
True. Because Barker stole 93.
Yep.
And Malone stole 97.
Correct. So it's like every player has had that happen where it's like, yeah, they definitely, LeBron should, I agree, should have definitely have more.
What was the year when Magic won and Jordan should have won? Was that 90?
90.
91? What year was it?
90.
90, right?
Yep, I think it was 90.
Jordan should have 90 as well. The stats didn't, it was so. And Barker should have 2 MVPs, but we're going to leave that alone for now.
Now, sticking to West, I just want to get another quick question. We talked about those 2 young teams up at the top, right?
Yeah.
Say you get a Minnesota or Oklahoma City against a Dallas or a Phoenix. Who would you guys take in that matchup? Would you take Minnesota or Oklahoma City or Dallas or Phoenix?
Okay, so Mini versus who? Would you say?
If I had to throw it out there, let's say Dallas.
Oof. That's going to be a 7-game series.
I'm telling you, Luka and Kyrie are starting to figure it out in Dallas with Gafford and some of those additions, Lively coming back healthy.
That's a 7-game series.
I like Dallas. I mean, Luka in the playoffs is an animal, man.
Yeah, I think that's barbecue chicken, bro.
For Dallas?
Dallas, I think they're getting shredded against Minnesota.
So you think Minnesota wins that? You're saying Minnesota takes?
Because here's the thing about Luka, and look.
Man,
I made this statement about Luka when he got drafted, and people lost their mind, and now they're all on my side now because I see things way out.
Clairvoyant.
Yeah. So I said that Luka Doncic plays like James Harden, and I got all this pushback. No, he doesn't. Look, Luka plays like James Harden, bro. He likes to play with the ball. He's very heavily ball dominant, and I would argue at times that Luka's about his numbers. Way more than people like to admit because they like to throw in the stereotypical European ideology that he doesn't care about numbers, he only cares about winning. No, Luka cares about his numbers.
Yeah, I think so.
He cares about his numbers a lot.
Yeah, I think
his own coach said it before. His own coach said it.
Yeah. He knows. He knows.
I think the question was,
he knows.
Guys worry about stats. He said, no, one guy worries about stats.
Luka cares about his stats. And I honestly think that's the reason why Luka hasn't gotten very far because he didn't use Porzingis like that. Yeah. He didn't use other guys like that. He's got
I blame Porzingis.
Kyrie Irving, who everybody says
couldn't stay healthy
is an elite talent. Look, bro, gotta make it work. Has he really made it work? No, and why not?
Been to a conference finals though, right? A few years ago.
Kyrie has to be the point guard for them in the playoffs to win.
But I think they're figuring that out. I think
Kyrie has to have the ball in his hands and run the offense to win anything.
Point is, Luka don't get no flame for the way he plays,
and he should. And he should.
And again, I think if they have an early playoff exit, I think obviously that conversation is going to be
no. They can probably blame on Kyrie, like they always do.
Well, I mean, depending how the series goes, but I think if
his name was Leandre Jackson, he would be getting tons of hate, man.
The blame's gonna go on Kyrie.
Let's be honest.
Not Luka. It's not gonna go on Luka. It's gonna go on Kyrie.
Not on this show. We will, of course.
No, we're talking about globally.
Yeah, I know.
Globally, it's gonna be on Kyrie. They're gonna say, "See, here you go, it's the cancer."
See, I just can't. But to me, again, I think if Luka being your guy and being the guy he is for Dallas, taking them to Western Conference Finals, again, I think that's such it's just a scapegoat, easy way out to blame Kyrie. If they're in to lose a series, I mean, it's going to be. I don't care if Luka puts up 39 and 8. It's still going to be, in my opinion, on him if they lose.
For them to win, he has to have lower numbers. I'm with Matt on this. Like, he has to be around more like 20, 25 to 28 instead of 30, 36, 37. Like, he has to drop
and the
numbers
difference
down.
this year is he's playing a little defense this year.
He ain't
playing no
defense. He is. Like, like the
Four
steals the other night.
4 steals?
I'm telling you, he can please play. As opposed to, I'm not saying he's a good defender, but if you remember what we saw the last couple years, at least he's trying to get back on defense a little bit. Yes, I'm telling you, if you watch some of the, he's a little more active. I'm telling you, from what we saw the last couple years, I mean, it was so obvious and just.
I don't know what Luka you watching because he looked the same.
I'm taking advantage of that free NBA. league pass. So that's how you know.
Yeah, until they charge you with that monthly subscription.
Yeah, oh man, on it down. Quickly, 2025 mock draft published today on ESPN. Jonathan Givony, just looking ahead, obviously Cooper
I like
Flagg.
his takes no way. Jonathan Givony.
Cooper Flagg, obviously the projected number
That's
one
a hard
overall
one.
pick here in 2 years, obviously as expected. But Matt, the big thing here and some of the news was there was no Bronny James. Bronny James was removed from the 24 draft, and he comes up here in the late first round or early second round, of 2025 draft. Just your thoughts on Bronny James, because a lot of people thought this was going to be the year he was drafted.
No. The idiots thought this was the year he was going to be drafted. And people that want to doubt, I have Facebook posts to back it up with dates on it. When Jonathan Givony put that garbage out, I literally called him up, because we know each other from when I worked with NBADraft.net back in the day. And I said, dog. I said, dog,
Still check that.
what are you doing, bro? I don't understand what this is. What did you watch of Bronny James where you thought he was a top 10 freshman coming in? Oh, I just really think he's an all-around talent. I said, all right, cool. You got a check from Clutch. Because, dog, you can't tell me that this guy that you watched, we watch these kids 4 years. I watched Bronny James. I can tell you this, and I'm not even being a smart ass when I say this. Amari Bailey was on Sierra Canyon the year before. There was no Bronny James. He was literally a guy in the corner that shot threes. Amari Bailey ran that show. And Sierra Canyon, in case people don't know, has been loaded with talent for years.
NBA players' sons.
NBA players' sons, NBA player talent. I mean, you're talking about like what? Zaire Williams went there, BJ Boston,
Scottie Pippen Jr.
I mean, they're loaded with talent.
Kenyon
Martin Jr. They've been loaded with talent for years, and he's never been at any given time. Bronny James, I'm talking about, has been a featured player ever offensively. I think his senior year he averaged 12 points a game. Okay. Now, look, can it happen? Sure. You could be on a very good team and be a low point guy and be on like a top team. They used to see this with Oak Hill Academy. But Sierra Canyon was not that team.
They're not Oak Hill. No.
Okay? He didn't even make first, second, or third team in the state of California. He made honorable mention, Bronny James. So I couldn't figure it out because I'm like, what did you see that I didn't see? So I say all this to say this. Do I think Bronny James will be a possible NBA player? Sure, it's a possibility. I'm not going to say that the kid doesn't have a future, but what I will say is this. I think when we sit here and we take kids and we make them jump the front of the line because of who their dad is, and we ignore all the other kids that put in all this talent and all this hard work to get to where they're at in their position, I think we do a disservice to the business. And at the end of the day, the problem I have with Bronny James is the window of your career that I've seen in high school, that I'm seeing now in college, it don't fit. It never fit. And it's not me knocking the kid. I hope the kid succeeds. I hope he does achieve his dream of playing in the NBA. But if we're being honest, there was nothing ever that I saw with him that I was like, oh my God, this guy is like, he's next. Never saw that. And look, at the end of the day, if Jonathan Givony still wants to go out here and still wants to say next year that he's a top 10, top 15 kid for next year's draft, all right, we'll see. But to me, it seems like a guy that's trying to justify his take this year and saying, oh, well, my take was off by a year. It's going to be next year. And then what happens is if next year, if Bronny don't hit, is he going to then put him in the 2026 draft and say, oh, this is the year. Trust me. How about we just let this kid play
on his
out?
own?
Well, let me ask you this, though, Matt, to play off of that, and like you said, you watch these guys for years and years. Where would you draft him if you were a GM, if at all?
I wouldn't draft him.
Wouldn't draft him at all.
I wouldn't draft him either.
So not draft pick, just want to get you.
He's not even in the top 100 of draft prospects this year. Anybody who's taking him would take him for
a flyer
favor to Clutch Sports so that they could get a favorable contract for LeBron.
And I think that would be the case, right? Unfortunately, I think that's going to be the reason whether he plays well or not.
He would be a G leaguer.
We're going to catch him at the Fieldhouse, maybe?
No, Bronny's going to be Bronny
going to be in the G League.
Bronny will be a G leaguer.
How much of it has to do with the size?
It's to do with everything.
It's
the lack of... Like I saw Gilbert Arenas say that he has this what do you call it, Lamborghini off athleticism or Bugatti off athleticism. I don't know what he's talking about. I've seen Derek Jones. I've seen these guys we talk about Bugatti athletics. Those guys.
His little brother has it more than he does.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Bryce is the one that's going to actually do something.
Yeah, and maybe we'll be talking about him here in the upcoming years.
Because he's a junior now?
Yeah. And I mean, look, again, Bronny could definitely develop into an NBA pro. I'm not saying he doesn't, but like, do I think it's this year? It's a heck no. I think it's next year. I'd be shocked. I think he needs 3 years.
But think about it. Think who was playing with and playing behind at USC's behind Old Man Boogie.
Yeah.
And Isaiah Collier. Mm-hmm. And their infield needs to be fired, folks. If you can't win with that talent at USC, bruh, you didn't have talent the last 3 or 4 years.
Coast. Shout out to Florida Gulf Coast.
You've had a top 10 recruiting class the past 3 or 4 years and have done nothing with them, bro. All that Dunk City stuff from Gulf Coast is run out because you got Arizona State, UCLA running circles around USC, and that's not what you were brought there to do. He got to go.
So we'll see what happens at USC and Bronny James here going forward, and we'll see if he does in fact wind up in the 2025 NBA draft.
Bronny is Jeff Jordan all over again.
And let me just say this too. I think 2025 is far more deeper than this year's draft. Yes. So I don't see how he gets in the top 10 even next year. It's way more talented next year.
And speaking of the draft, the NFL draft's coming up in just a bit, and this year's class or draft as opposed to last year's. And same thing in the NBA, much more loaded this year, they're saying, than last year. So 9 of the first 10 picks expected to be offensive weapons, so a lot of offense here in this draft. Combine in Indy this week, but some guys already starting to pull out a little bit. Caleb Williams will not throw. Jaden Daniels will not throw. Marvin Harrison Jr. will not show up. He is saying he's going to hang out at Ohio State. That's pretty rare, but of course when you're a player like Marvin Harrison Jr. with that kind of name and what he's able to do in college, you have to earn, I guess, that right. He has in fact done that, so he won't be there. But how do you guys feel about these guys not working out at the Combine? We're seeing that trend here as of late. Do you think that's effect on any draft stock?
It doesn't have any effect on any draft stock, but it has effect on them in the public eye. I think it's more so that than anything. But you see a lot of players doing this now, like they skip bowl games and Senior Bowl and stuff. I think those should be mandatory still for everyone.
I'm with you on that one.
And I think the Combine should be mandatory, at least to appear, whether you actually participate or not. But you should be there for interviews regardless, and doing that whack Wonderlic test and all that stuff. But they should be there for all those things. But yeah, it should be something mandatory behind that. But the fact that draft status, the names you just named, not at all, because you still have pro days.
Yep, and that's what they will be taking part in. That's what that seems to be the new wave here. At least they will be there, most of them, everybody, for interviews and media sessions and stuff like that, but not participating. Matt, what do you think?
I mean, I'm probably going to be on the outside of this. I think, look, when these guys are playing at the schools that they play at, if you don't know now whether or not you believe Jaden Daniels is worthy of a draft pick, you shouldn't be working in the NFL back office. Just to be honest with you. You should know by now that this kid can play. Now, I will say this. I do agree with Jason in this aspect. I think that the NFL, being how they are probably going to at some point say, look, we're going to write it into the CBA where you got to show up for Combine. Because, and I'll say this is more the reason. It's not about Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams. It's about the guys not named Jaden Daniels and Kenny Williams. Because when you see Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams go out there and throw, yeah, you've seen them throw. It's the guy that you don't see a whole ton of that throws after them, and you get to sit there and say, oh, I saw Caleb Williams thrown. Oh, let me see how this other guy that's from this school that I don't really look at throughout the year, see how he matches up with that. It's the matchup that scouts like to see. I don't think it really has a huge impact on their draft status, but I'll say this. I think it has a bigger impact on the guys not named them because the scouts aren't able to get a comparison on the talent. And yeah, I'm with Jason. I despise the Wonderlic test. I think it's one of the most egregiously stupid things that the NFL puts a lot of investment in, and really we don't really have any real data that shows high Wonderlic test equals talent. We don't have that.
It's the SAT of football test.
Yeah, and we talked about, right, and it kind of was this was the Wonderlic that we brought it up, was the big talk of last year's Combine, where C.J. Stroud had reportedly one of the worst historical scores in NFL history. And that people said, oh, he can't read defenses, or you're not going to be able to do this and that. Well, it turns out he did pretty well in his.
And didn't Dan
rookie
Marino
year.
have like a 9?
Yeah, he had a really bad one.
like
Yeah.
there's
It
a
goes
lot of
both ways.
guys that have like really low Wonderlic tests.
Cam
and
had
we're
a bad one too.
Yeah, like why?
Like,
Why are we still
talk
paying
about
attention
Cam.
to this, man? It's like, dude, like, come on, man. Like we there's a lot of guys that have done really high in the Wonderlic test, and they get in the league and they're like doo-doo. So it's like,
I want to say Jimmy Clausen, I think.
yeah.
Jimmy Clausen.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's no data that says, the Wonderlic test gives you for sure are going to hit this mark in terms of NFL talent. It's like, I don't know why we put all this investment in it. I get the 40-yard dash. If a guy runs, which I think is the most beautiful thing about the NFL Combine, if I got to say it, is the fact that you get to see kids that come from HBCUs, that come from junior colleges, or that come from a Division III, that they get the chance to finally be on the same field and then say, like, look, doesn't matter what your school is, doesn't matter what your background is, can you run? Can you lift?
Can you catch?
Can you catch? Right. I love that part about the NFL. And I think that's the one thing the NFL draft has in spades over the NBA draft, is that there is a chance for these guys when they go to these small schools, they are able, like Kyle Dugler a couple years ago that the New England Patriots picked out from Lenore Ryan. I love that. I love that about the NFL draft. And look, they'll invest a high draft pick too in these small school kids. They're not afraid. So
also NFL, y'all got to get this right with the HBCUs, man. Like, the HBCUs have been putting talent to the NFL since the 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
Like, to have like maybe 3 players drafted from HBCUs in the last 2 or 3 years total, like, that's everybody can't be undrafted. These HBCU players got to give them a lot more shine, a lot more love than what you've been doing. Some of your biggest players of all time, your Too Tall Joneses and your Walter Paytons and your Jerry Rices and your Strahans came from HBCUs. I'm an advocate for it all day. You guys know why. But we got to make sure that we get these players a little bit more draft love and actually attend the HBCU combine and actually pay attention to these players too. So on top of them having a separate combine, they should be invited to the bigger NFL combine in Indy as well.
Shout out to Tariq Cohen. Again, I hope he's trying to make his comeback here from North Carolina A&T. He was
MEAC
friend
legend.
Yeah, we love Tariq
Broke
Cohen. I had a
every
chance
record
to go
there was.
hang out with him a few times down at A&T. Shout out Xavier Griffin, North Carolina A&T as well. So Tariq, hope that comeback's going well, but let's get you going, get you back out there on the field. So hopefully he's doing well. Quickly before we move on here, NFL, we'll stick with the draft here for a second. It's quickly approaching. We'll do our draft show here leading up to it on that Thursday. But what do you guys think is the most important pick here in the top 10? We talked about an offensive loaded draft, a nice draft class, especially here in the first round. Offensive lineman's going to be deep this year. But like I said, 9 out of the first 10 picks expected to be, explosive offensive players, playmakers, some sort of thing. Jason, who's your go-to? Who has, your opinion, the most important pick for their team in the top 10? We got the Bears at 1, Commanders 2, Patriots 3, the Cardinals 4, Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers now at 5, Giants 6, Titans 7, Falcons back at 8, Bears with 2 picks, they're second here at 9, and then the Jets at number 10.
It's Washington at 2. New regime, new everything. Washington has missed on a few draft picks over the last few years. You got number 2 pick. Washington has to hit on that number 2 pick. Like, there's no way around it. They have to hit on number 2 pick.
And is that pick, again, we've been talking about the quarterbacks 1, 2, 3. That's the projection, at least for the most part. 1, 2, 3, barring anybody trading up and making a move. The Patriots' word around there is obviously they should take a quarterback, but they said they may not be ready for a quarterback, something like that. I think that's ridiculous. I think if you're the quarterback, so you got to take him at 3. Who do the Commanders need to take it to?
They need to take Jaden Daniels at 2.
Again, and as an Eagles fan, I hope they take May or Daniels, and maybe they take somebody else or trade back. That's what I'm hoping for, because again, I think both of those guys have the potential to be dangerous. I can see them taking Marvin Harrison Jr. though at 2. I can see it, but you need a quarterback to throw to him. Yeah, I'm with you there. I'd take a quarterback from the Commanders all day, whether that be May or Daniels. Right now, those two guys are right there for me. I think I'm leading Daniels as it stands right now. A lot of time, though, left in the draft world before the NFL draft. Matt, what do you think? Most important pick in the first round? Or the top 10?
I gotta be honest with you. This draft is like one of my favorite drafts.
It's gonna be fun
because so much is riding on this in the first 5 picks.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, to
hardball
me,
at 5 too.
Chicago is so much in trouble if they don't get this pick right.
Yeah,
because
everybody's fired. That's for sure.
Everybody's fired, and I gotta be honest with you. I'm not invested in Caleb Williams.
Yeah, we say
he's not a guy I like. And I don't know if he's that much better than the guy that they want to get rid of. At number 3, the Patriots. I agree with Jason about the Commanders. Number 3 is the Patriots. Dude, if they don't get this right, you guys are going to have some long New England winners like you used to in the 80s. Yeah. You might not see something again for a very long time. Of course, Arizona at 4. I mean, dude, at this point, it's the Kyler Murray reclamation process. I mean, at this point, they've got to figure out, is this guy somebody we can win with or not? Is it because he doesn't have enough talent? What are we going to do with this? And then, of course, the Chargers, just because. I think
that's the real interesting one at 5. Yeah. Jim Harbaugh in his first year.
He's going to take it over. He's got to take an lineman. He's probably going to take Alt from Notre Dame. He's got to.
Got to take a lineman, for sure. There's no way.
A lot of Brock Bowers talk as well as a tight end. Yeah. And, this is going to be a really fun process.
Just got to go QB.
Now that's a hot take there if we've ever seen one. I don't think they're. I think Jets need a lineman. I think Fashanu or Joe Alt, if either one of them are there at 10, I think
Joe ain't gonna make it.
I think, and he might not. But I think one of them.
I gotta be honest though, I'm not mad at what Jason just said here because. Yeah, you got to figure what's Aaron now? 39.
39.
He's got 1 or 2 seasons. You would argue at best, at most 2.
Listen, I'm sitting here the same age as Aaron Rodgers right now.
Yeah, man.
Just saying.
Say it again. What did you say?
I'm the same age as Aaron Rodgers right now. Just saying. Sitting here talking about him. Just here.
I'm talking about right McCarthy or the kid from Washington. They got to start really thinking about that at that
Penix would be a good pick at 10.
And I love Michael Penix a lot. I really liked him ahead of the national championship game. I didn't like what I saw of him against that Michigan defense. He struggled a little bit with some of the coverages.
He did.
And stuff like that. And again, that can be overcome. I'm excited to see him throw at the combine. But just talking about who were we just talking about before that?
Bowers.
Chargers? Bowers?
Yeah, we're talking about you mentioned J.J. McCarthy as well. A lot of talk about Michigan maybe landing him later in the first round or coming back. I'm not, as what I've seen from McCarthy, I know the record's fantastic.
Is he really a first round?
I don't have him right. I mean, again,
I don't have him in my first round.
I don't have him in my first round, but he's now been one of the hot names that's been climbing up the draft.
The Daniel Jones effect.
Oh God.
It's when you're trying to make something good and when you know it's probably not good. And I got to say this too. It's so hilarious about Michael Penix Jr.'s draft status because this is why I always say no matter what, the NFL still has a little problem with understanding quarterback play because they don't know what to make Michael Penix. Because Michael Penix does not play your stereotypical African-American style of quarterback. He doesn't really run. He's a guy that sits in that pocket. And you can tell they don't know what to make of it. They're like, is it Byron Leftwich? They don't know what to make of him.
I tell you who it is. He plays like another great African-American quarterback at UW. He got that Warren Moon in him.
To me,
that's what it is.
In terms of just
he's a bigger Warren Moon. Come out of college.
To me, I mean, he's got watching these prospects. Drake May, kind of a longer throwing motion.
Drake May's trash.
And talks of just focusing on Penix. Penix has a literal flick of the quickest release in the class, the quickest release I've seen as a quarterback in a long time. And he's got, to me, and I know you guys didn't like this comparison last time, but strictly as a thrower, to me, he screams Michael Vick as a thrower in terms of the way he delivers the ball, the lefty, the velocity, the arm strength. He reminds me so much of Michael Vick just in the pocket as a passer, which Michael Vick, as we know, obviously known as a runner, but he could let that thing fly as a quarterback. So that's what I see at him as a thrower. And, we'll see again in terms of the coverages and going forward. But, he was fantastic this year.
The only problem with Penix, and I think this is what scouts are worried about, is that they don't know if he's like Matt Leinart. Because Washington has some serious draft talent in this draft.
Those guys were wide open a lot of these.
Yeah, they've got, 2 wideouts and probably the first.
They had the number 1 or 2 best receiving core.
And then the running back. One of their O-line probably going to be in the first round.
He's going to be
O-line and the running back.
Will be a top 5 pick.
Yeah, so I think that's that's the fear. The fear is maybe he's a guy where he was surrounded by a ton of talent, and maybe that's why he was so good. So I think that's probably the fear they have with him. But I would take a chance.
He's going to be an interesting one for sure. Maybe late first round, early second round. We'll see what happens. Who'd you get? Who was your most important pick of the first round? I totally skipped over that. Did you?
Oh, I think Chicago.
Number 1. Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you there. If I had to pick one here, for me, I'm gonna go with New England. I think they're in the same situation. I think overall Chicago, just in terms of what they could or could not do, that's obviously going to be the talk of the draft. They passed up last year on what people are saying would be C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, however you want to look at it, but C.J. Stroud is the guy. And Fields, again, coming up on a contract year. I'm going Patriots just because they coming off of Tom Brady, the successes Matt alluded to earlier, the Super Bowls, and then to go through what they've gone through the last 2 years with Belichick now gone, and of course Mac Jones having an okay rookie year and a dreadful second year when they decide to give him a defensive coordinator and a special teams coordinator as Mac Jones' offensive coordinator. They've kind of been, if you want to argue, the laughing stock in the NFL the last 2 years. I mean, they have after being a dynasty for so long, and now here they are sitting at pick number 3 in a draft where sitting at 3 is a great thing, right? There are 3 or 4 quarterbacks that you could have a shot at here that could be NFL, game organization altering picks. And as Matt and you guys said it, of course, sometimes being that 3rd pick with the first 2 go and you get whoever gets to you at that 3rd pick sometimes works out for the best. We saw Josh Allen be the 3rd quarterback taken in that draft class. Ben Roethlisberger was the 3rd quarterback taken in his draft class. Sometimes Patrick Mahomes was the 3rd quarterback taken in his draft class. Sometimes when you sit at that spot and get maybe not who you or just land who's supposed to land to you, whether that be May or Daniels, is most likely going to be one of those 2 guys. I think that's going to be big for them. They have to draft a quarterback. I think it would be insane, and we're hearing the rumors now that they want to trade out of number 3 and see what they're going to do. I think
it's not insane.
You don't think that's insane?
It's not insane.
It's I think you got to take a shot at a quarterback. I don't even care if they turn out not to be good.
In a quarterback-heavy draft, they can get a haul for that 3rd pick. I don't think it's insane. I
think you have to take a quarterback. I think you have to take a quarterback.
I think it's insane.
The time is now.
Because
but would you draft Drake May at 3?
If I'm the Patriots, I would. I would, yeah.
Why?
No. I would. Wait. I was with you, and then you went left.
Yeah,
and now we're off the ravine.
Well, if I had the choice, I would take Daniels. But if, say, Williams and Daniels go 1-2, and I'm in the Patriots
then I'm
sitting
trading.
at 3,
I'm trading.
I take Drake May.
If those 2 are gone by 3, I'm trading that pick.
Yeah. Now, if Teddy Two Guns goes second, I'm staying right there, and Jaden Daniels will come to me.
Yeah, no doubt.
But if those 1 and 2 go. Yeah, dude, I'm trading out. Now, I just because we got local viewers out here, I want to know. So, go to each team here that we represent, that we love. 22 is the Eagles.
Yeah.
What would you do if you're the Eagles?
So if I'm the Eagles this year, to me, I mean, we've drafted defense the last couple of years. I think it's time to get in on the offensive action. I take either a lineman, a versatile lineman, right? Kelsey, depending on him, somebody that can play guard, center, maybe they can move around the offensive line. But I like weapons. And I think the Eagles coming in, something we talked about during the season, by far they're top-heavy wide receivers. Yeah. The worst 3rd receiving stats for a 3rd receiver or a 3rd secondary pass catcher in all the NFL. I think they can add another weapon there, depending who that is in the late 1st round. I mean, there's some
Jalen
guys,
throw to him, though?
Yeah, he'll throw it to him.
Well, can I play devil's advocate real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you said offense.
Yeah,
I would argue that the defense, either a linebacker or a cornerback, is your issue.
I'd say corner.
You wouldn't take that?
No, I go offense. Personally. And again, in that spot, you could be looking at a Cooper DeJorn from Iowa.
Or Kool-Aid. Best name ever. Kool-Aid McKinstry.
That's right. He's been the guy you're seeing for the Philly in a lot of these mock drafts.
I love these names. Yeah, man. So, okay, that you said you go what, probably wide out?
Yeah, I'd probably go wide out or offensive lineman.
So your team is picking 30th. So where would you go? The Ravens.
Truth be told, it has to be running back.
I could be a
running back because JK's off the books. You got to try to re-sign Gus. And it's not a guarantee he's going to come back.
All right.
Because Gus is going to get money from somebody.
And again, this is a draft where you're not going to most likely see a running back taken early in the 1st round. So that would maybe be a spot 30, early 2nd round. The Ravens want to take a shot into the running back.
I would say the problem spots with Baltimore are running back and corner.
Okay.
Those are my 2 spots. We can replace Queen.
Right.
Not like total production, but we have linebackers in Baltimore that could fill the void somewhat.
I'm just curious, Nick, do you know who the projected first running back is?
I would guess it's Texas would be my guess. I forget his name.
Is he scheduled to go in the 1st?
No, not 1st round now. He's going to be day 2.
Day 2 is, yeah, I'm running back is going to be day 2 regardless.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a lesser running back class this year. Still some top end talent there for the top couple running backs, but yeah, not really a 1st round, but yeah, for sure. Some guys that are going to, not some big names that we're seeing in the,
Yeah, 1st round running backs haven't been that bad the past couple of years, so I'm mad at that.
Exactly right. And we saw that from Bijan and Jahmyr Gibbs.
At 30, it's pretty much a 2nd round value anyway.
Sure.
So, and Ravens.
Would you think about trading down to get your running back in the
probably?
2nd round?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, probably to get an extra pick.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
But if there's a great defender still left at 30 in the first round, I think you go defense. But if there's not anybody they have a first round grade on, then they trade down and get another couple picks out of that.
Okay.
For sure.
Yeah, I'm not mad at that.
And what about you guys?
O-line. I don't think it's any question. Our O-line is bad, particularly at the right tackle and the right guard. It's just bad. I don't know who would be available there. I mean, there's a litany of guys.
And especially towards the back end of the first round. This is a great draft for offensive linemen in the first round.
But I think a tackle, we need a tackle. We need OT. I mean, that's just preferably right tackle. I doubt we get a right guard in the first round. Guards don't usually get in the first round. But tackle, I could see a right tackle. Okay. I think we got to. We ain't been able to really replace Mike McClinchy, who went to the Raiders.
That's right. And again, from now until draft time, we're going to see these boards shake up, completely. It's going to be, now we're sitting first 3 picks for quarterbacks. Who knows what's going to happen, 3 weeks from now. Some of those quarterbacks, slide down. Some other players slide up. We are in the midst of draft process here. It all gets underway at the Combine this week in Indianapolis, so that's going to be fun, and we'll keep up with it and then be back here with, some results. I'm sure we'll touch on this next Monday as well. So a few things here to close out the show. Just sticking with the NFL, some big news before we get into a little Cam Newton, Eric Bieniemy, and NCAA as we close out. Some reports coming out of the NFL, the franchise tag, the salary cap way higher than projected. I believe almost 13 or 14 million more.
30.2 million more.
Really?
Yeah, 30.2 million.
Oh yeah, more than last year. They were. Excuse me. I should say that they
Yeah.
were planning for it to be around 244 million. It was 13 or 14 million more than they projected for this
now,
year.
yeah.
And
It's
then
255.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's up there. So some franchise tag prices obviously going to be up there as well, and the running back tag going to be I think over 14 million if you were to tag a running back this year. So it's been said that's not going to be the case. Nobody's going to be tagging running backs this year. So that means free agents include Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, Tony Pollard, Austin Eckler, DeAndre Swift, Devin Singletary, Zach Moss, Gus Edwards, Ezekiel Elliott, and Derrick Henry. A star-studded running back class and free agents.
Tell you who I take.
So let's start there. Is this going to be where the Ravens strike in the free agent market? Jason, if so, who do you think stands out, and how big is this running back class?
I think the only 2 targets for Baltimore, if you're going to go from this list here, would be Derrick Henry or Josh Jacobs. I could really see Josh Jacobs in Baltimore, too.
Yeah.
I could really see the power running back who can catch out the backfield, who can actually block as well. And then Derrick Henry, of course, is Derrick Henry. But problem with Derrick Henry is this. He's already long in the tooth, age-wise and carries-wise. So that would probably make Jacobs or Saquon top priorities. But Saquon's probably going to end up in Dallas.
I mean, a lot of free agent running backs here. But the question is, maybe where do they go? But the big question is, what did they sign for, right? Running backs and contracts.
3-year deals.
Talk and
Nothing more than 3 years.
I mean, nobody wants to pay a running back between $12 and $15 million. So we'll see what these guys want to settle for. Saquon was tagged last year. Obviously, they said they're not doing that again this year. Some big names on the market here, Matt.
Yeah, Tony Pollard or Eckler, come to death row, man. Come to death row. Come to San Fran, baby.
Look at that 1-2 punch with CMC.
Do y'all need them?
I think they do.
I would love it, man. Yeah, I mean, I think Elijah Mitchell does well, but
he battled some injuries, too.
Yeah, he battled some injuries. I think he's injury prone. I don't think he's ever going to really take off more than that. I would love to have them be able to spell CMC because, look, CMCs are injured.
I think it's going to be interesting to see where Pollard goes as one of the guys on this list, right? Because he come in last year. I know I had high expectations for him and didn't really get going as I thought he would.
Honestly, I think Pollard stays in division and goes to you guys.
I think he'd be great as part of a 1-2 punch.
No, I think he fits the scheme in Philly better than Dallas last year. That's just what I see already.
And hopefully with Kellen Moore now with that new system, get the running backs the ball a little bit more. He had him in Dallas and had his best year.
I think
obviously his career.
I think Pollard actually fits the scheme because you need a back who's a little bit more shifty. Swift is more downhill. But you need somebody who's shifty.
And again, they got away from him last year towards the end of the season too, as well. I thought he had a great start to the season.
I mean, but the Eagles haven't really been consistent in running games since Shady, so it's not really.
I thought last year in the Super Bowl run they were good.
It's not really you can go years where you Shady and then Westbrook and then before that was what
who? Brian Westbrook, LaShawn McCoy. Yeah, after that,
the prior to that was
Deuce Staley before that.
Deuce Staley.
It was Deuce.
Then
before that was what?
Deuce.
Before that, after that, you can't really name too many 1,000-yard running backs in Philly like that.
Shout out to Deuce.
Yeah, Miles Sanders great year last year, but who thought about Miles Sanders?
That was a 1 year wonder.
Yeah, it was a 1 year. But other news in terms of the franchise tag, we'd all been wondering about T. Higgins. A lot of us anticipated maybe they let him go somewhere else. They franchise tag him, so he's going to get his money next year, and he stays in Cincy. They're going to be maybe the team in the AFC next year.
That just means that Boyd is a free agent. That's all that means. Boyd,
yep, and I heard he wants to leave now.
Boyd, you can come on down the road division, brother.
That wouldn't shock me
on
either.
Down there, brother.
So T. Higgins stays. Big news there for Cincinnati. Quickly here, Dennis, do you have footage of the Cam Newton scuffle at the 7-on-7 tournament in Atlanta?
I ain't got that footage.
Oh yeah, here we go. Cam Newton sitting up. They snuck him, guys. He was doing an interview here. One of the teams that they had just gotten into a big 7-on-7 heated game there. As you see Cam fighting off a few of these guys here. Just you guys see this over the weekend and your thoughts. Cam Newton, very vocal. We talk about some of his takes here on the show, but obviously getting on some other people's nerves here. Your guys' thoughts here on Cam Newton and the scuffle down in Atlanta.
He got to stop looking like he's from an extra from the Lord of the Rings. But
the hat stayed on the whole time.
Hat stayed on the whole time. So shout out to the stylist. But I'll say this. The problem, look, Cam didn't deserve what happened to him, obviously. I wouldn't wish that on anybody, but I'll say this. I don't know, it sounds like an elitist thing to say, but look, sometimes you got to stay away from folks when you reach a certain status because sometimes people just want to pull you down. And, Cam, I'll say this. Those people got some serious confidence because I'm telling you right now, a guy that's 6'6", 250 pounds, that's running over people and is built like a Greek god, and you want to sit there and take a swing, and you're just Joe Six-Pack, I think that's kind of crazy. I got to be honest with you. I mean, he had one guy in the headlock pushing.
He was 105, man.
Yeah, threw the other one away. Like, bro, come on, man. This is not your weight class, bro. Just chill. Y'all trying to bank this guy. It's not going to work.
And again, to your point, Matt, Cam he hosts these tournaments. He gets a lot of the kids. He does a lot of, good for the younger generation and all that kind of stuff. And, just from, we heard Shannon Sharp say it and Chad Johnson say it on the podcast this week, is they've been to some of those events and they say he gets disrespected all the time, like during the tournament from some of the teams that go there. So again, with Matt, maybe that is the best thing to do.
No, honestly, Cam, and he doesn't charge anybody for this. He puts these tournaments and stuff on for free, 7-on-7 drills. He crashes other people's camps and things. Like he loves to give back, but it's very disrespectful. It's very distasteful. It's disheartening. It just goes to prove that this generation really doesn't respect authority at all. Like they don't respect authority, and it's not just with this particular event here, but you can be like just use a phrase, a Joe Six-Pack teenager in school or an athlete. Like they really don't respect authority too much, and Cam does this out of his own heart, out of his own pocket. Like he doesn't ask for any endorsements or sponsorships for this, and it might be time for him to pull back from doing some of this because. And Cam doesn't travel with security anyway. Like he's never been the guy to have an entourage.
Obviously, he was sitting right there all alone.
But even when he played, he never. That was one of the things that Carolina was scared about because he never.
Gotta respect that.
He never walked around with a bunch of security. So Cam's gonna have to either protect himself more and hire a security team, or stop doing these events altogether because it's gonna lead to something else if it keeps going this way. And it's sad because when you're not listening to a guy of Cam's caliber. Heisman Trophy winner, NFL MVP, a guy who turned his life around after the whole incident at Florida and going to JUCO, had to reclaim his name, and then did what he did in the NFL, and now he's a successful media personality, if you will. It's troubling, but like I agree with Matt. Like sometimes you just gotta know when to not go.
And again, just to your point about the kids, I've talked to a few college coaches now. We're seeing college coaches leave for the NFL, and I've talked to high school coaches, college coaches in and around the area, and they've all told me that this is just a different generation of young players. They said whatever you thought was coaching style, 5 to 10 years ago, they said it's just not the case. He said, and I hate to say it this way, but some of the words they used, or it wasn't. I don't know. It's not the word. It's not soft. It's not the word they use, but like it's not as willing to grind, not as willing as to work harder or stay extra hours. Take criticism. Yeah. That's the biggest part. Is not even take criticism or constructive criticism, and we're seeing that kind of. We actually in the state of Delaware for high school basketball, they just got rid of the post-game handshake classes. They had too many incidences of fights during post-game handshakes because there was no discipline with some of these teams here in the state of Delaware. So an issue there as well.
Yeah, let me also say this about Cam, because I think this is at the heart of the issue as well. Winning an MVP should mean something. And I have seen over the last 6 years, I've seen over the course of this season, people take that and crap all over it and basically disrespect him. Like there's been, I can't think of anybody in any sport that's been perceived to be the best at their sport in a season that has been routinely disrespected because somebody didn't like what they said. It's crazy.
And that was one of the best seasons for
Ever.
a quarterback. Yeah, that we.
Ever.
I mean, it was.
Ever.
And I don't know if we could have this discussion maybe for another time. Excuse me, but a quarterback that's able to take a group like that, to the Super Bowl, being that big of a focal point. I mean, who was the leading receiver?
Ted Ginn.
Ted Ginn. I know DJ was DJ Moore even on the team.
No, it was Kelvin Benjamin.
Who got out of shape and was out of the league the next year.
It was Kelvin Benjamin.
I mean that team, the defense was okay. The defense was pretty good.
The defense got in there.
But,
Defense got in there in the playoffs.
Nothing with him to work with on offense, and he was the MVP of the league.
He had Thomas Jones and Luke Kuechly on
and
defense,
if you think about,
Josh Norman.
that crew is nice. But if you think about it, can you think of a team that had that much less offensively that made a run to the Super Bowl like that?
No.
I can't think of one.
No. It was like AI in the Sixers in 01.
Yeah, really.
That's the exact run they had.
That's a good point.
Mind
too.
you, the Panthers have never had back-to-back winning seasons.
Yep.
Think about this.
That season was incredible.
They went 7-9 the year before that, and then went 15-1 that Super Bowl year. Then went 8-8 the next year. They don't have back winning seasons. So we didn't do that, which is amazing.
And again, Cam though was at the airport scene today, getting on a plane. Everything looked good, so he should be all right. I'm sure he's not too fazed by any of that in Atlanta.
The Mad Hatter
over the weekend. Let's close things out here. Final thoughts, but also some new rankings. Houston has that top spot in college basketball for the first time all season. And before we end, we'll end with this topic here. Thoughts on the top 25, what you think of Houston, and then we had a storming the court issue with Kyle Filipowski yesterday, the second issue this season with that type of thing. And where do you guys stand on storming the court as we close out on a Monday? It's been the hot topic all day long. Jason, you look like you're ready to go. What do you got?
So, here's my thing. I've been involved in an incident where storming the court was what we had to do. We won our first and only MEAC championship, 2005, Delaware State. We stormed the court in Richmond. It was a great experience, a great time, and it hadn't been done before, so we won the chip. We stormed the court. I think that's a part of college sports that you really can't take away. It's part of the game. It's on the field in football when it's upset. Baseball, everybody runs on the diamond.
Tore the goalpost down at Tennessee last year.
But the ACC is the only conference who doesn't have fines or sanctions for teams storming the court.
I didn't know that.
They're the only major conference that doesn't have anything in place for it. So you can just storm the court whenever you feel like it. And there's no warnings, no fines, anything. But like I said, it's part of the game. It's part of the joy of college sports. It's part of amateurism, and just the sheer joy of celebrating for somebody. And the instance with Filipowski, that was such a freak incident. Like, he's 6'10", 240. He's just soft. Needs to drink some more milk. Like that. The young man that ran into him was probably 160 pounds, soaking wet, about 5'8", 5'9". And he got baby ankles. Ain't no way you felt like that. You felt like a giraffe in slow motion. No, it's not. It wasn't the guy's fault. If you wanted to go off the court or stand like a statue, act like you're setting the screen, let the person bounce off you, and then go off the court.
So do you think maybe, is there any adjustments you think that they should be? You think obviously if the ACC were to implement some of those fines, so do you think that would help? Or what would you do if you were running the NCAA?
That's the only thing, implement fines. But I want to talk about this because we talked about this point. Jay Billis today had the worst take ever on this. He said that they should, let them storm the court, but keep them there, and then fine them or arrest them.
Yes, I heard that. Arrest them.
Are you serious, dude? You want to herd these students like cattle off in a paddy wagon for storming the court? You gotta be out your ever-loving mind.
And again, there seems like there could be, Matt, maybe some, small things that you could implement for player safety, like for the visiting team, quickly, storm the court, but, at least get ready to have security escort your team out. There's got to be something, something that you can do to kind of get past that problem. Where do you stand on that?
It's 50-50 with me. I get the culture aspect of storming the court. I think we just talked about players are different now. Mm-hmm. I think some of these guys and gals are a little bit wound up from either a loss, and they struggle with separating that stuff when this court storming's happening.
Are you talking about the fans or the players?
I'm talking about the players.
Yeah, gotcha.
Because to me, there's no way if you're playing for Duke that you didn't know when that happened that they weren't going to rush the court.
And here's and again, you can continue on here.
Yeah.
In this game, again, this is the part that I don't understand, and maybe I'm crazy. Wake Forest was 2.5-point favorites in this game.
On the road, yeah.
At tip-off.
Yeah.
Does that affect your decision at all if you whether to storm the court or not? They were favored to win the game.
It doesn't
It's
matter.
Duke.
You don't
Duke.
think so?
Duke is
Because
always
I think that's ridiculous.
Duke is always everybody's top target.
Yeah,
to
I
beat.
guess so.
They're hated.
They're hated
They're
by
hated.
They're the most hated team all college sports. Let's put it out there.
Yeah.
So if you're coaching a team and you guys knew you were picked to win the game beforehand, and you guys win the game, are you okay with storming the court?
Yes,
for your
it's
team?
Duke.
All right, we'll say it was North Carolina.
They would do the same thing.
I'm saying you.
No, they was on the court still. I'll be okay with
So
it.
you was.
Yeah, you gotta think about it. Duke was what, a top 10 team in the country,
Yeah, Wake Forest ain't top 10.
and Wake Forest hasn't beat Duke in how long? It's been a while.
Wake Forest ain't even in the top 25.
They're
So,
But we're 2.5-point favorites in the game.
only because Duke is a poor road team.
yeah.
That's my thing, though. Doesn't have to go in
But
with
it's
it.
still Duke. You can be favored.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, weren't the Niners favored to win this?
I'm not saying I'm all for. I'm
Not
okay.
the
I'm all for
same,
storming
like,
the court. I just don't know if that was the situation to do it.
So here's the thing. Having family in that area and going to some of the venues there, going to school in North Carolina, that Tobacco Road rivalry with all the schools, it's cutthroat.
Yep, that is true. That was a lot of fun.
It's a dog-eat-dog world. So if you get the chance to beat Duke,
That's true. That's a good point. It being Wake Forest, you're right. The Tobacco Road. That's a
Duke
good
with
way.
Carolina,
Now,
you're going to storm the court.
That's a good point. I will give you that. Yeah, so I'm with you there.
happen.
I'm with you there. Any thoughts on Houston with that top spot? I mean, we're getting into NCAA March Madness preview time, guys. As we're getting into it, we'll be up here with this board and the bracket behind us here shortly, breaking down every single matchup. I know it's going to be hours of work, and we are excited for it. How do you feel? With the
Houston
top
probably number one for like a week and a half. They're not going to stay at one.
And again, Houston, everybody thinks, obviously a good offense team, but they think defense, right? What do you think of Houston and Coach Sampson, et cetera?
Great coach. That's what they're.
Yeah. But again, it seems
One of the best of all time.
one of those teams that's been in the top 5 or near that top seed the last couple of years, but
They
haven't
have.
been able to make that jump. Same thing with Purdue, but they've had better success than Purdue in the tournament. Obviously here, how do you guys think about Houston? Are they a team that you think could win the national championship?
No.
Elite
Yeah.
8 at best.
And is it because of the offensive limitations, or what do you guys think? Like, what is it about this Houston team?
They ain't got a lot of studs on that team. They got a lot of good college players,
agree.
but studs, no.
I say Elite
I
8
see that too.
at best. Elite 8 at best for Houston.
So again, if we had to choose, we're looking at it right now, and again, this is with no prior knowledge. We haven't dug too deep into our college basketball stuff yet. But who do you guys, if you had to pick a team right now, I know this is probably the toughest question I'll ask you all night because there's so many, but who are you leaning towards, or at least a group of teams maybe that you're leaning towards here? Who are you looking at?
You already know one of my picks. I ain't even got to say it. We know.
You don't want to jinx it, huh?
We know. We know who it is.
And Matt feels the same way.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way.
There as well.
Outside
for
of
sure.
them,
But again, we talked about these top teams, Houston and Purdue, and we've talked about both of those. And both those teams, you guys said, you're not in on both
Nope,
of
not
them.
even
no,
Purdue either.
look, I like Arizona.
Yeah. I like Kansas
I've liked
too.
Arizona in the past. When they had Matherin and Terry and all those guys, I thought that was going to be. They to me every year just can't do it in the tournament. I liked Arizona a couple times this year. I had them in our. That's who I picked to make the national championship when you picked the right final a couple years ago.
UConn might make it back.
They let me down, and I just don't know if I can go back to the well in Arizona.
UConn might make it back.
I'm with you. I'm with UConn. I'm in on UConn.
Outside of them, and of course, the team that won't be named right now.
I'm not too high on them, and I guess they could be better.
I'll tell you why I'm high on them, because the missing 20 altogether last year did something to them. And you bring only players not on that roster from last year was Caleb Love. You add a Cormac Ryan. You bring in the freshman Trudeau. you add what's the guy, the transfer? I can't think of his name right now. I don't know if it's the forward. He's been putting up silly numbers.
Talking about Harrison Ingram.
Harrison, yeah, Harrison Ingram.
Who's I would say the heart
and soul of the team,
yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
Ron Artest tournament for me with you Chapel Hill guys up here for all.
Well, you ran the right now tonight.
Well, that's what I'm going to say too now is because in Villanova and the Florida Gators might not even be in.
Oh, of course they won't
this year. So that's going to be tough for me to deal with. Okay.
I tell you a team who might be in if they make a run in the Big East tournament and focus out the season.
Say it.
Don't be surprised if St. John's there. I'm trying to tell you right now. St. John's might be there.
They're not quick enough laterally.
St. John's might be there. They're better than Villanova.
You know who I like?
I'll tell you, if you want to say that again, that was for Rick Pitino, of course. It was a week ago, and they come up with a huge win yesterday. It was yesterday over at Creighton. They responded, man. I'll tell you that watching that interview with Rick Pitino had me on the floor. I was rolling after that one, man. What do you think?
I think Creighton's dangerous.
Yeah, they are dangerous.
I mean, you got Trey Alexander, you got Baylor Schneidman, and you have Ryan Kalkbrenner. I mean, those guys are.
It's a big boy.
It's a big boy, man.
And Shireman, right? Since a few years ago was South Dakota State was leading them. And then
Baylor looks decent.
Baylor does look
decent. Shout out to Baylor next year when my man Rob Wright goes and plays down at Baylor.
Also, another guy that I had a chance to call a few of his games in high school for Long Island Lutheran, VJ Edgecombe, I think is heading to Baylor, if my memory serves me correctly there, too.
But shout out to Rob Wright. They playing at Montverde right now for this extra year.
VJ projected to be a top 10 pick in that top 20 in that 2025 NFL, NBA draft.
Happy about that, man. I'm happy about that.
Yeah, that's gonna be. I do like Scott Drew and Baylor. Yeah. Again, they've had a struggle last year. We'll see. They got a good team this year too, though, as well. So they may be a team to keep an eye on. But it's going to be a fun NCAA tournament. Of course,
on both sides, men's and women's. Women's is going to be insane. And Iowa will not win a championship.
Don't say that. They're gonna egg you.
I don't care.
They're gonna egg you.
Now, South Carolina, if you could take South Carolina,
it's between South Carolina and LSU. It has to be.
LSU, yeah. Can they get
South Carolina, LSU, and Ohio State are the top three for me. And the women's.
What about Juju USC? Not enough manpower.
Elite Eight. Not enough manpower.
Somebody's like, they got a group text.
I think she can beat. I think
she can be a couple beats by herself.
That's what I'm saying. I'm a
big fan of what she's doing out there. Yeah,
for sure. That'd be a fun matchup. That would be a fun.
Shout out to Demetria Fair, Syracuse 4th all-time leading scorer in women's basketball history. She just passed Jackie Stiles, or she's about to pass Jackie Stiles. She's 4th all-time.
Jackie Stiles.
But if we're gonna be honest, Caitlin Clark really isn't the number one women's all-time leading scorer. But we're gonna leave that alone for tonight. If you count NAIA records, it's not her.
Was that your final thought?
No, but this is not.
All right, here we go. Final thoughts around the desk here as we close out on a Monday. We were lingering on here, 8:22, but we got some great stuff done tonight, Jason. Final thoughts as we head out.
Final thoughts. Campaign started today. Home Depot, retool your school. This is an opportunity for schools to be earning money through their campaign through Home Depot with a fund towards rebuilding of schools and money for scholarships, things of that nature. And you can vote as many times as you want to per day. It doesn't matter. So those you, Delaware State, retoolyourSchool.com/vote. Vote for DSU as many times as you can. There's unlimited votes every day. The campaign runs from today through March 4th. retoolyourSchool.com/vote. Vote for Delaware State.
Jason, you put that in the comments. Put that link in the comments for everybody at home here after the show. Matt, closing words here on a Monday.
Yeah, let me just say this real quick. So I know that people are out here losing their minds about Caitlin Clark, and rightfully so. Enjoy the show. Brilliant career. But let me just say this. Stop with the hyperbole. Look, she's a brilliant player, but this talk that she's the greatest women's basketball player is disrespectful, and it's insane. Especially when we're talking about Lisa Leslie, Cheryl Miller. I mean, we got some names here. And, I mean, at the end of the day, listen, what Jason Williams said that a lot of people are getting mad at, that she hasn't won anything, it's true. Right now, the best men's scorer of all time is Pete Maravich. And you're not going to find anybody that's going to put Pete Maravich over Bill Walton's college career, Christian Laettner's college career, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, a.k.a. Lou Alcindor's career, Danny Manning's career. And the reason why is because they won a title. Sorry, that's where greatness is made in the college level. It's the championship. It's the NCAA championship. That's what it counts. Sorry, this regular season, it's great. By all means, enjoy it. But don't get mad when context has to be applied to your hero. Enjoy Caitlin Clark. Love Caitlin Clark. But for God's sake, relax. Just enjoy the show. Don't try to make her the greatest thing that you've ever seen.
I agree. Thank you, sir.
Do you think, again, maybe it's just a question, just a toss-up random here.
Yeah.
Do you think if Caitlin Clark was on Delaware, that she could take Delaware to the Sweet 16 like Elena Deladon did back when she was here?
No. Elena Deladon was a much better complete player.
And that's what I hate to say, but that's how I feel about it as well.
Yeah, people forget Deladon went to UConn and left because she had anxiety issues. And
she was the number one player in
number one player in the country.
She was, man, I used to see her play all the time back in the day.
Like, she was number one player in the country for a reason. Like,
she could do it all, but like Matt said, she could do it all. Like, rebound and,
run the floor. Like,
So, I'm with you there. And again, a hell of a career. And if she was able to cap it off with a national championship this year, obviously that would change, the conversation.
For sure.
But again, tough.
Caitlin can't beat anybody off the ball. You watch the game, she doesn't beat anybody off the ball. She either shoots from the deep or gets a rub and gets to the lane. But she can't beat anybody one-on-one.
Or use a screen.
She can't beat anybody one-on-one. And that's going to be a hindrance in WNBA. She can't beat anybody one-on-one. She has to work on that.
Well, again, both of these tournaments up around the corner. Excited for the NFL Combine. We'll talk later on this week. We'll get some content from Indianapolis, and maybe we'll be able to get set up a Zoom so we can have another show to chat on everything coming up this weekend in Indianapolis. But if not, we'll be back next Monday, of course, with some NBA. The Combine will be finishing up, all the interviews with the coaches, etc. Will Justin Fields be a Bear by next week?
He better be.
We'll find out. That's when a lot of the trades go down, is this week in Indianapolis. We'll find out. Well, for Jason, Matt, myself, and Dennis, we will see you then. Thanks for tuning in.